Hello kids, so welcome back to tabletop stats on Kitchen Cam. So my aim here is to show you how to find help in the RStudio manual. So if you know the name of the command that you want, then the easiest thing to do is to type question mark and then the command that you want. So if I write question mark mean like this, and then press enter or run it, it's opened up the manual page for that function. So you don't actually need to remember to the whole name, as R is going to try and help you, and it's going to try and make suggestions. So if I was just I typed here question mark ME and then press the tab key, you can see it's making a number of suggestions for functions that I might mean that begin with ME. Okay, and it also gives you an idea of what those functions do to help you narrow down the one that you were looking for. So you don't necessarily have to remember the exact name of the function, as long as you've got some idea what it begins with. So this has opened the manual page. You can achieve the same thing using the search bar here. So if I type mean, you can see it started filling in the values for me again. So you might find that easier if you click the help tab first and then type the function that you're looking for, whatever that might be. So let's say we're looking for str, you can see that function starting to come up. Or what other functions do you know? Hist, you've probably used. You can see that starts to open the function too. So you get the idea. So what I'm going to do now is try and take you through the manual page. Let me open this window up a little bit more. Okay, so it takes a lot of practice to use the manual page, but once you get used to how the manual is written and the structure of the entries, it's incredibly useful. It's absolutely invaluable. It'll help you use functions, it'll help you understand them, it'll help you understand error messages you're getting, and so on. So this first line here, this is telling you what package the function is in. So in this case it's in the base package, and there are several packages that come as standard with R. You don't really need to worry about this too much, and one of them is base. There's quite a lot of other ones, for example, here we go, there's boot, class, cluster, and so on. So you get lots of packages as standard with R. You don't even have to think about installing them. And then there's other packages which you'll use later, like ggplot, for example, which you have to upload. Anyway, when you upload those packages, their help pages automatically get loaded in as well. Okay, so then you've got a number of sections, and all manual pages have the same structure. So they all include sections called description, usage, arguments, value, and very often they have references, see also, and examples. So under description, it gives a description of what the function does, as you'd expect. And then under usage, it tells you how you use that function. So all functions have the brackets, and this one's saying that it needs to take an argument called x. So you have to give it at least one thing. We'll talk about these dots in a little while. You have to give it at least one thing called x. And then if you look down to the arguments section, it tells you what those arguments are. So in this case, the thing it calls x has to be an R object, and it says it can cope with either numerical or logical vectors, and also dates and date times. So if you give it a vector of values 3, 4, 5, it'll give you the mean, for example. If you give it a vector of logical values, true, true, false, it'll give you the mean, treating false as 0 and true as 1. So then we've got these further arguments, which, because they've got values here, that means they've got defaults. So wherever there's an argument with an equals and then a value, that value there is the default value. So this one, trim is set to 0 by default, and na.rm equals false, it's set to false by default. So trim is a variable which takes off a certain proportion of the most extreme values in your data set. So if you've got some very extreme values, you can get rid of the most extreme, say 5% off each end, and then it'll calculate the mean just on the middle section. So by default, it does it on the whole vector, and you can choose to have a slightly different mean if you want to. na.rm is an argument that's actually can be passed to very many functions. So lots of functions will take this argument, and it means nas.remove. So do you remove the missing values before calculating? So if you've got a missing value in your vector of numbers, when you do a mean on it, you'll get a missing value back, an na value back, not applicable value. So if you do an na.rm equals true, but set by default it's set to false. If you do equals true, then it will calculate the mean of the values that are left. So this is quite a useful function. So if you get an output of a mean, and it says your output is na, but you know there's some numbers in there, it might be that you've got some numbers which happen to be missing, and therefore you need to set na.rm to true in order that it calculates the mean just for the values that you do have. So the ... means that you can pass additional arguments to the function if it's appropriate. So most of the time at first you're not going to need to worry about that, but most functions have this capacity to take extra functions, extra arguments where it makes sense, and you'll possibly use that later. So the values section is another extremely useful section, and that tells you what the output is. So we've got what it does, how to use it, what you have to give it, and what it gives you, what the output is. So the value in this case is just a single value, but with more complex functions with several output values, it tells you how you can access them or reference them, and you'll learn more about that later on. Bye for now.